Hey y'all, I hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope you're having a great Monday. And even if we are having a massive amount of rain, it was still a beautiful weekend, so I hope everyone got out and had a little bit of fun during that time. I am going to talk a little bit more in this video, so it's going to be a little bit longer, so please be patient with me. These are some very important things that you need to know in regards to nutrition. And talking about, just reiterate the PowerPoint because I know it was long. I do apologize again. This is one of those topics that takes a pretty good amount of time to discuss. So make sure you're paying attention to the main food groups, which are your fruits, vegetables, protein, grain, dairy, and oil, which is 6. Make sure you're paying attention to how much we need of each. 6 ounces of grains, 5 ounces of protein, 2.5 cups of vegetables, 2 cups of fruit, 6 teaspoons of oil, and 3 cups of dairy. So again, make sure we're reiterating all of those things and we're aware of how much we need of each. Also make sure that we know what the DASH diet is. It helps reduce hypertension, which is also known as high blood pressure. That's the whole point of DASH. That's what it stands for, Dietary Approaches to Stopping Hypertension. Make sure we know the difference between gastric bypass and liposuction, and then making sure we know the differences between bulimia and anorexia. So bulimia is binging and purging, anorexia is where you really don't eat a whole lot. So those are just some reiterations of the topics that we covered in the PowerPoint, and now I want to talk to you about some different things. So I want you to think about portion size, and I want you to think about portion distortion. So here's some thoughts for you. 20 years ago, 2.4 ounces, 210 calories. How many calories do we feel like this is today? It's a substantial amount. So there's a lot of calories in that. Thinking about the portion sizes, so again, spaghetti and meatballs, this was 1 cup. How many cups would this be now? We're almost double, if not triple, sizing things. Your cheeseburger, 333 calories. I mean, this is a substantial amount of calories today. Your cheeseburger. Your bagel has doubled in size, 3-inch diameter. It's now 6 inches. So we're doubling in size and doubling in calories. So I just want you to be mindful of the portions, and my tips and tricks to you for portion size, especially if you're going out to eat or even if you're eating at home, is to cut it in half and put the half in a to-go box, because nobody wants to be that person that digs into their food in their to-go box before they even go home. So make sure that you're cutting that in half and then putting the other half in a to-go box to take home, and eating later on another date would be my preference for you. But that's always my tips and tricks, because sometimes whenever we're sitting there at the dinner table, we get to talking, we're not paying attention, we're eating very fast, and we don't want to leave anything left on our plate, so then we overindulge, and we don't want to overindulge. So that's my suggestion to you, is to get a to-go box and put it in the to-go box before you even start, because again, a lot of times it's hard to control ourselves. So do that before you even start eating. We talked about whole grains and what the whole grain looks like. So we see things in the grocery store. So we see this brand in the grocery store, Arnold 100% whole wheat. It says whole wheat, right? And then we also see this, it says wheat, Nature's Own. It also has a whole wheat brand. So what's the difference in the two, other than the price and other than the style? So the difference is that it has this nice label that I was talking about, the yellow label that has whole grain. It says 100%, sorry, it says 100% whole grain in it, and this is the part that you're looking for. It's on the side of the bread usually, or on the back of the bread, and you're looking for that side because that's telling you it's 100% whole grain. It's approved by FDA, it's approved by Whole Grain Council, so make sure we're looking for that, and we'll also tell you how many grains of whole grains are in that item. If it doesn't have that on it, it's probably not what you're looking for in terms of whole grains if you're looking for actual whole grain bread. Whole grain bread is going to be very hearty, it's going to have your actual grains in it, so it's going to be maybe a little bit crunchy, it's going to be a different texture for you if you're used to white bread. And it's not going to be as sweet because, again, it's whole grain, and white bread is filled with sugar because they're taking that germicide out and they're enriching it with sugar. So again, make sure we're paying attention to that note. So in terms of healthy eating, and what we're looking for. A lot of people are very confused about what cups look like, how much I should be eating of different things, how in the world am I supposed to know what's a cup and what's not a cup, what's an ounce and what's not an ounce. So this is a very good serving size guide for you. It gives you a good indication using your fist or using inanimate objects of what a serving size looks like. So 3 ounces is equivalent to a deck of cards. You can also think of one serving size as 3/4 of a cup, which is the size of your fist. So 3/4 of a cup is the size of your fist. You can use your hand for pretty much all measurements. 3/4 of a cup, 3 ounces, 1 tablespoon. So you can think of it that way if you want to. It's a pretty good measuring because, again, we carry around our hands everywhere, right? They're with us. Whereas inanimate objects are not. But if you are an inanimate object person, a dice is 1 teaspoon. That's equivalent to 1 teaspoon. A golf ball is 2 tablespoons. A baseball is 1 cup. Again, the deck of cards is 3 ounces. The let's see, a tennis ball is half a cup, and then those are the things. A tennis ball is half a cup. A baseball is 1 cup. The dice is 1 teaspoon, and a golf ball is 2 tablespoons, and then your deck of cards is 3 ounces. But you can use your hand. 3/4 of a cup, 3 ounces, 1 tablespoon. Those are a pretty good way to measure what's on your plate. If it's more than your fist, you're eating probably more than a cup, and you might not want to be eating more than a cup. So in talking about serving sizes, half a cup of cooked rice or pasta is a serving, so that would be half a cup of already cooked, not cooked. 1 slice of whole grain bread and 1 ounce of whole grain cereal, and things of that nature. So those are always good options for you. And then I also want to talk to you about sugar, because sugar is a very big topic and it should be discussed. So sugar, our brain does not differentiate between sugar and cocaine. It initiates the same reward system as any other drug, which is why sugar is so difficult and we want more of it. So think about it this way. If you drink soda, it is really hard for you to stop drinking soda. You crave them. You go through withdrawals. You get headaches. You crave that sugar. You crave that caffeine. And it's the same thing. We go through withdrawal from sugar. So making sure that we are considering sugar as a drug and we're considering it any other way. I want to talk to you a little bit more about what that looks like. So the most we should be getting, according to the American Heart Association, the recommendation for sugar, women should be getting 6 teaspoons of sugar per day, and men should be getting 9 teaspoons per day. And I'll put that into correlation for you. So women, 6 teaspoons, men, 9 teaspoons. So let's put that on the side, put that in pause. And let's think about what we drink and eat regularly. So a lot of times sodas are very popular, sweet tea is very popular, Red Bulls are very popular. So let's just take a look and think about these things. So in relation to soda, Red Bull, and sweet tea, a lot of speculation about which one has the most sugar, which one's worse for me. Sweet tea can't possibly be as bad as a soda. Red Bull can't possibly be as bad as a soda. So let's look at this in terms of what has the most sugar in it. So a Mountain Dew has the most sugar in it out of all sodas, 77 grams for 20 ounces. So that's about your normal size of a Mountain Dew, is your 20 ounces. They're not the small, but they're not the big. They're just the normal size, 20 ounces, 77 grams. So we're supposed to have 6 to 9 teaspoons, which in terms of grams is 30 to 45 grams. So if you drink one 20-ounce Mountain Dew, you are doubling, if not tripling, your sugar intake for the day. 1. And that's your only sugar for the day. Can't eat any other sugar, acknowledging that sugar is in bagels, ketchup, mustard, marinara sauce, yogurt. Anything, everything, sugar is in if you don't make it yourself. So acknowledging that. The second one with the most sugar is Coke. Coke has 65 grams for 20 ounces, so 65, again, we're doubling the amount of sugar that we should be intaking. Dr. Pepper is at number 3 with 64 grams, 20 ounces. Number 4, Monster, 54 grams for 8 ounces. 8 ounces. So if we're keeping it in equivalent with ounces, Monster would be number 1. So 54 grams for 8 ounces. So 2 of those would be 108 grams of sugar, which would be 16 ounces. That would be the bigger version. So 108 grams, we've almost quadrupled our sugar intake that we should be intaking. Just let that resonate. Quadrupled. 108 grams of sugar for a 16 ounce Monster. Next comes in Venti Caramel Macchiato, 42.1 grams of sugar. So that's your Starbucks drink that I said to avoid for that reason. And then next, McDonald's sweet tea, which is 38 grams for a large. 38 grams, that's 1 serving size of our sugar. So 30 to 45 grams. That's almost our entire allotment for the day. And then next comes in with vitamin water. Vitamin water has 32 grams for a 20 ounce. 32 grams. That is equivalent to our sugar intake for the day. So those are normal drinks that people are drinking, that you are accomplishing your sugar intake just from that one beverage. You're not even eating anything. You're drinking your sugar intake for the day without even consuming any calories. So I really want that to resonate with you, and I really want you to think about that very hard the next time that you are consuming something. And just to put that in relation for something else, 33 grams of sugar in Honey Nut Cheerios, 6 grams and 1 cup of Greek yogurt. So the difference between eating cereal for lunch or for breakfast and then eating yogurt for breakfast is completely different. I also want you to think about, well, fruit has sugar, right? I get so many questions of sugar and fruit are synonymous, so therefore I should not eat fruit. No, please do not think that. Fruit has fiber and nutritional value that you cannot replace anywhere else. It may be sugar, but it is the natural sugar, but not the processed sugar that we need to consume to survive. So honey has the lower GI value in relation to whenever you're using something to sweeten something. Use honey if you're going to bake. You can put it in muffins. You can put it in anything. So honey is the better option there. So 3 different types of sugar that I want you to know about: sucrose, glucose, and fructose. Sucrose is that table sugar. The glucose is the starch or the carb, and then the fructose is the naturally found sugar that you want. You want fructose, you do not want sucrose. Sucrose is the processed sugar. Fructose good, sucrose bad. Fruit is good for those with diabetes, so don't be fretful if you're diabetic about that. And I want to talk to you about the fruit that has higher or lower GI content, which is your glycemic index content. So, because a lot of people are like, oh, that has a lot of sugar in it. So fruit with the lower GI, which again is your glycemic index, is things like apples, berries, bananas, cherries, grapefruits, plums, pears, peaches, oranges, and kiwi. So again, let me list those. Apples, berries, bananas, cherries, grapefruit, grapes, kiwi, oranges, peaches, pears, plums. All of those are very good for you. They have low glycemic index, so they don't have a lot of sugar in them. The medium glycemic index are things like figs, papayas, pineapple, melon, or honeydew. And then your highest glycemic index is going to be dates and watermelons. They have very high glycemic index. So fruits are high in fiber and nutrients. They reduce your risk of obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and some cancers. Make sure you're being cautious of dried fruit, applesauce, and things of that nature because they're taking the fiber and nutrients out. Most of the time, the shell of the actual fruit is the healthiest. Like an apple, the skin has all the fiber in it and is the most important part. Berries have the antioxidants from the little seeds in them. Bananas, obviously the skin is not what you eat. And then oranges, obviously not what you eat. Peaches, you can, I suppose, but not exactly favorable with the little fuzz. So a lot of times with a lot of fruit, the outside is the most important part, especially when you're talking about apples and things of that nature. So make sure you're keeping all of that in mind. And make sure we're keeping, how much sugar we're intaking. And I want you to think about this very carefully of things that are labeled low fat, because apparently fat has a bad rap, which fat is very important for us. So whenever you have things that are labeled low fat, they're taking something out, and that means that it's not going to taste as good, so they have to put something back in, right? So what are they going to put back in? Sugar. They're going to put sugar back in. So everything is going to be higher in sugar. I bet you money, once you check that label of low fat, flip it over, check the ingredient list, sugar is going to be at the top of that list because they're adding sugar back in. And make sure you're being cautious of looking at that ingredient list. I've said that about a million times in this chapter, but that ingredient list is so crucial whenever you're looking at things. You want the ingredient list to be minimal. The more things that they have added up there, the more things that's been processed and they're not whole. The smaller that list is the way to go. If you can get 6 ingredients or less, you're doing phenomenal. So make sure you're paying attention because, again, sugar also has multiple different names. There's over 100 different names for sugar. So they hide it in various formats. And just being knowledgeable of that fact alone is very helpful. So again, check that ingredient list and make sure you're being mindful of what you're putting in your body, and make sure if you don't know what it is, look it up. That way you know in the future if you see that again, like, oh, that's not very good for me, I should probably not be consuming that. So check the ingredient list. I'm saying it 1,000 times. Repetition is the key to all learning. And if you have questions about nutrient value, or if you have questions about sugar or meal prep or whatever I can help you with nutrition-wise, please let me know, and I'm happy to help.